idea how many properties you have to evaluate in order to get deals, all right? So I'm just gonna run this through. Each one of these lines down here, each one of these columns going up and down, each one of these columns is a property, represents it's a property that I actually put these numbers in. I actually evaluated it, all right? Now I'm gonna run it a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. I don't know how many there are right here, but this is not all that I've done. This is just, I did this probably all of these in maybe a 6-month period. Out of those properties that I evaluated, I probably flipped 5 to 10 of them. That I bought 5 to 10 of them, and that's it. Because the other ones didn't work, all right? But you need to evaluate a lot. Now, when I say evaluate it, does that mean do I go to every one of these properties? No. A lot of the stuff you can do online, which is great. That you can go and I can look at pictures and I can see things that need to be repaired. I can see I'm probably going to redo the kitchen. Oh, this needs to be a complete gut. Oh, so I can do estimates even based online. So I've made offers on properties that I haven't even seen in person based on this. And then because when I make them online without seeing them in person, they always have the contingency on it that allows me to go in and do an inspection. So if I'm going to look at a property, I'm going to first put in the address. That's just the first line here. Put in the address, approximate square feet. I like to try to have that because that will kind of guide my evaluation a little bit. Let's say it's 2,500 square feet. And then scope of work. Is it a gut rehab? I'm looking at pictures. Is it a gut rehab? If it's not a gut rehab, let's just call this a mid rehab. So we're probably changing out the kitchen, the bathrooms, maybe finishing the basement. Okay. Whoops. All right. And then I want to know how many months. And the reason I have it in there is not only how much work am I going to do, because it's going to enter into my holding costs. So what I want to put in the months there is that's going to help in my spreadsheet. I've calculated holding costs based on that. And it's going to really depend where I'm doing it. If you're doing it in the city of Chicago, if the property is in the city of Chicago and you do it properly with permits, it's going to take you quite a while. I said that on my property tour yesterday. It takes me to go back. If I'm going to do some creative things, maybe make some changes, open floor plan, it probably takes 30 days for my architect from start to finish to submit it for the permit. Because I give him an idea, and then he does the drawing. It takes him like a week, and he gets the drawing back to me. And then I give him feedback and ideas, and maybe I want to walk through the property with him. Here's what I'd like to do. Well, you can't do that because this, this, and this. He does all the measurements. By the time we're back and forth, it's 30 days usually before we're submitting for the permit. The city of Chicago, if you're lucky, the permit will take you 2 months to get. So we're at 3 months and we haven't even started the project. Now, what some people will do is they'll do an e-permit, an easy permit, which is a replace and repair permit, and they'll do that online just to get something in the window, and they'll kind of use that to start their demolition. They feel like that protects them, but in fact, it doesn't, because if you're doing demolition, that's not on the e-permit. It's not one of the options that you can get a permit for, but they'll do that to get something out there, and then they'll start their demolition because they hate waiting 2, 3, and I hate waiting 3 months before you start working on the property. So anyway, so the duration. So let's say this is in Chicago. It's not a full gut rehab where we're down to the studs, but we do require a permit. So that's going to be 3 months. And then it's going to take us at least 3 more months to get it ready on the market. So it's in the market in 6 months. I usually calculate it takes 30 days to get an offer and 30 days to close. 3 months to get work started, 3 months to finish the work. We're up to 6. Month to have it on the market, month to close, so we're up to 8 months. So let's go 8 months here. And then the annual taxes. So I'll go to the county website, and you can use, on Trillia and some of these other sites, it'll have the taxes, but I don't believe them. I always want to go to the source. I go to the county website to see what the actual taxes are. Now, let me caution you this about taxes, is that make sure you understand whether or not the current the property currently has a exemption on it. So when someone owns a property and lives in the property, they get a homeowner's exemption. That sometimes is a discount of $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, depending on what area it is. In Chicago, it's usually not that high, but depending on what area it is, it could be pretty significant. So when you buy the property, are you going to get the homeowner's exemption? No, because it's not owner occupied. So you have to calculate that in. So let's say you found a house that's in the city of Chicago. I'll try to make these numbers realistic. So if you're going to buy a house, you know what? I'll put kind of the numbers that on Elizabeth, the property that we're doing right now, the project that I did the property tour on. So I'm guessing that those property taxes were probably like $3,600. So the city of Chicago is much less expensive than a lot of the suburbs. So let's say that's $3,600 in taxes. It's not that high. The asking price. So I usually put that in there, especially if people are going to send me properties and I ask them to put them on this form, because if you do the evaluation in the amount in order to make this a deal is you got to buy it for $50,000, but they're asking $130,000. I'm going to say, are we wasting our time? Why would they go down to $50,000? Again, there might be a logical reason. They have to move out. I know the owner, blah, 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 right? But if they say, well, I don't know, you know, I'm not going to waste my time if they're asking $130,000. And if it's on the MLS, I may not even make an offer. In fact, I probably won't even make an offer, right? It's listed for 130 and my numbers don't work unless I get it for 50. I'll move on to the next property. So let's say this one, the asking price, let's say the house that I'm talking about, let's say the asking price was $80,000. And the ARV, as I told you last night, the ARV is $250,000. Now the acquisition price, just for the sake of starting, I usually put in the asking price there so it calculates my numbers for me. And then I put the rehab budget. So I look at pictures. If I haven't seen the properties, I look at pictures. I look at pictures that sold for $250,000, and I look at the pictures of the current property condition, and I say, what's it going to take to move from this to this? How much am I going to spend to get it in the condition that it is now to look like these $250,000 properties? So let's say I evaluate like last night, I think our original budget was $120,000. So let's say it's $120,000. All right. So the spreadsheet is calculating for me the cost, the tax proration, the amount of taxes I'm going to pay in holding costs. So what it does, formula that I put in there is the taxes divided by 12. So I get monthly taxes times this number is how many months it's going to take me is 8. So it's at 24. Also holding costs in terms of insurance, utilities, maintenance. I calculate in a lot of my Chicago properties, I calculate about $600 per month, but a big part of that is going to be insurance. If it's $100,000, I got insured for $200,000. Yeah, the insurance is not going to be that much. But if it's a $500,000 property, insurance is going to be a lot more. I think I have this on another slide, but remember this about insurance. Don't compare it to where you're living right now. Homeowners insurance for an owner-occupied house is much lower than what you're going to pay on your rehab. So if the insurance on your home, let's say, well, I've got a $250,000 house and I only pay about, $80 a month is all my insurance is, my hazard insurance. The same insurance on the same $250,000 house, if it's a rehab, if it's vacant, they're going to ask if it's vacant. If it's vacant and it's being worked on, it's going to be much higher. So that house might be, instead of $80 a month, might be $180 a month. So factor that in, find out how much the insurance is going to be. And then on this, since it's $600 a month, my formula multiplies 8 months for the rehab times 600, that's where you're getting the $4,800. Closing costs. Now my closing costs are much lower. I save a lot on closing costs because I act as my own escrow agent. And I'm not telling you guys to do this. Here's where my disclaimer comes in. I'm not advising you to do this at all, but I don't use an attorney when I buy and sell. I represent myself, okay? But your number could be higher, whatever the number is. Some people use closing costs. They do 2% of purchase price or sale price. And that's reasonable. If it's like a $250,000 house, that might be reasonable. However, if that's a $500,000 house, it's not going to be 2.5%. Closing costs are not going to escalate that much. Your mortgage or your title insurance policy is going to increase quite a bit, but that's about it. A lot of those transaction type fees and fees that you have are not proportionate to the sales price. So you can use whatever you want on there, but 2.5% is a pretty good guide. And I use that as both a purchase and rehab, or purchase and sell. Because when I'm buying it, I'm paying it, a portion of it. And then when I'm selling it, I'm paying a portion. What do you pay more closing costs, when you buy or when you sell? Not talking about closing costs about the financing, because lenders will charge you a lot of stuff, but that's really not closing costs. In general, when you sell, because the big part of that is, again, going to be your title insurance policy, for sure. But you do, you'll have transfer stamps, you might have a point of sale inspection that you're responsible for. All that's negotiable in the contract, but usually you're going to pay a lot more when you sell. Okay? All right. Now, commission, since I do list my properties on the MLS, some people might do it for sale by owner, or you might be able to sell it without that. I calculated it in, knowing that if I decide not to sell it through the MLS, through a broker, through myself, then it's just more savings. I make more money. So on this deal, the profit would be $24,000, a little over $24,000 in profit. Let me ask you, right now in your career, because this can change, would you do this deal? But because of my business model, I wouldn't do this, okay? And here's why. The next number down here is project ROI. So the project ROI is taking $24,000 divided by how much money I'd have to put in, or my LLC would have to put into the deal. So would we have to come up with the purchase price? Yes. Would we have to come up with the rehab cost? Yes. Would we have to come up with the taxes? No, not during the project. You can wait and pay those taxes. Taxes are paid in arrears. You don't want to get too far behind because they could be sold. But if this is an 8-month project, usually I'm not paying the taxes. I just wait and I pay that closing. Even if I have to pay a little bit of penalty on that money, I don't have to come up with that. So I usually don't include that in my ROI. How about utilities? Do I have to pay that during the course of the rehab? Yes, right? Or else they're going to get turned off. How about the commission or the closing cost? Do I have to pay that? Only one side of it. I don't have to come up with the closing costs when I sell the property. That's not cash out of my pocket, right? The only thing is cash out of my pocket when I close. So only a small part of that is actually factored in there. Very small part of that. Maybe $2,000 when you buy, and when you sell, it's about $4,200. That would be about the breakdown. It's probably about 1/3 when you buy and about 2/3 of that when you sell. But when you sell part, the biggest part of that, the $4,000, I don't have to come up with. That comes out of the proceeds. That's going to come out of when the seller, right? Now I have to pay for it, but it's not an ROI base of my ROI, because I don't have to have that cash available, making money on that money. How about the commission when I sell it? Do I have to come up with that money?
No.
No, that's going to come out, again, out of the proceeds. So based on that formula, I'm going to get 11% on my money. Now, I always calculate not only the project ROI, but I want to calculate the annualized ROI. And there's a difference. The project ROI doesn't look at time. It looks at how much money did I make divided by how much money I put into it. That's simple formula, right? Doesn't matter if it takes me a year, 2 years, 1 month, whatever. That's the project ROI. My annualized ROI, I always want to know, because this is where I borrow money, or where I have partners come in, my equity partners. They're going to get a share of this ROI. And if I'm trying to attract partners, I want to talk in terms of annualized ROI. Because if I tell them, hey, do you want to do this deal? We're going to make 11% on it. They're thinking, well, my last statement showed that last year I made 11% on the stock market. So no, I'm not interested. I made that in the stock market. But they're not comparing apples to apples. They're probably looking at, or if they're looking at a CD, what does a CD pay? That's an annual. They're going to give you an annual return on a CD, an annual interest. What's the money market paying? They're going to give you an annual percent, right? So I want to put my projects in annual percent so they can compare apples to apples. What'd you make last year in the stock market? Oh, I made 11%. Well, this annualized ROI will be 17%, which means I'm making 11% money, but it's only taken me 8 months to do it. So we have another half a project we can start right after that. All right. So I always do the annualized ROI. And you remember my little pie chart there where I had the equity partnership model? Yeah. And I had the equity partnership model, and I had that they're providing 100% of the money. I'm doing 100% of the work and knowledge and experience. We're splitting the profit 50-50, right? I won't do, in my criteria, I have down here 30%. I won't do a project unless I'm going in, and I won't advise it to my LLC. I won't recommend a project unless we're going to make 30% annualized ROI. Why? Because I'm going to get 50% of that, and they're going to get 50% of that. I want them to make at least 15% on their money. As a private money lender, I sometimes pay 15% or 12%, and that's a guaranteed interest rate. This person, my equity partner, they're in for the ups and downs for me, with me, right? So I want the projection to be better than 30%. So now your business model might be different. And even though I wouldn't do this deal, if I didn't have a partner, it was all my own money, I probably would do it. Because I wouldn't be splitting the 17%, right? I'd be making all of the 17%. That might be good. I might be right with you guys and do this deal. But if I'm going to do 100% leverage and I'm not going to have any of my own money on it, and I'm going to pay out my equity partner 50% of the profit, I'm not going to do this. It's not going to be worth my time. It's not going to be worth their money, because we're going to split 17% in half. So they're only going to make 8.5% on their money, and I want them to make more. And I'm only going to make 8.5% of their money. Of that 24,000, I'm only going to get 12,000, and that is going to take me 8 months to do it. Now I can do multiple projects. Oh, what does that mean? Now I just go to my spreadsheet. Does it mean I don't buy that? No. Remember, we started out with the asking price as our acquisition price. They're asking 80. They can ask whatever they want. How much can I pay for it? Let's put in 70. Could I buy it for 70? Would I buy it for 70? Yes or no?
No.
No, because you can see the annualized ROI is better, but it's still not 30. Could I buy it for 60,000? Yes. All right. Now I know 60,000 will work, but here's what I want to know. I want to know what is the maximum I can pay for it. It's great if I can get it for 60, but I want to really know what's the maximum. Could I pay 65? Yes. 65 is the maximum amount I'm willing to pay for that property. So think about it. Don't get emotional when I go to an auction. That's where you lose money. I know my number. I know my number. I can bid up and down, up, 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 boom. When it gets to 65, boom, 65. Somebody bid 66. Randy, you want it for 67? No, I'm done. Simple. People get suckered in on those auctions because they get emotional. They don't know what their bottom line is. They don't know, well, maybe I can sell it for a little bit more. No, do your math and involve. And it's not just auctions. It's competing for a house. Oh, we got multiple offers. Give us your highest and best offer. 65,000. You sure you don't want to go more? I think we got higher bids. 65,000. What's your best and final offer? 65,000. Okay. It's a math problem. It's not an emotional decision, right? Okay. Now, if I'm doing this deal and I know the maximum I'm going to can buy that for, remember, let's use these numbers realistically. If they wanted 80,000 and my number will work at 65, what do you think I'll offer? Or what would you offer? However you want to answer that question.
60.
Well, the number I had in my head was probably $61,500. Now, the question is why? I like everyone's logic. What I thought I might hear, someone might say, I'll offer them 30,000. Maybe I'll get 30,000. Why didn't I say 30,000? Why didn't you say 30,000? Wouldn't you like to get it for 30,000? Why didn't anyone say 30,000? You want a counter offer. If they don't accept the offer, you at least want a counter offer. Otherwise, you learn nothing and you wasted your time, right? If I bid 30,000 and they say no, and they probably won't. I've been on the other side. I wouldn't counter offer. If I had a house listed for 80 and someone bid 30, I would say, no, I reject your offer. Well, you're going to counter offer? No, I already have a list price. Then they're going to come back to me whining probably. Okay, I'll offer 50,000. No. Okay. What's your counter offer? I don't have a counter offer. The answer is no. All right. I want to at least be high enough that they're thinking, I don't want to walk away entirely and say just no. They're close enough that maybe we can work out a deal. Now the counter might be at 6, might be 77. We might be still too far away. If they're at 77 and I'm at 61.5, what's the next step? What would you do? Okay. So my choices are this, right? My choices are to offer a little higher than what I'm at, right? Or not offer at all and go to the next property. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to the next property. If they're at 77 and I'm at 60, 61, I probably will do one more offer, maybe do one more offer. But if they're not really moving on that and we're that far apart, I don't want to waste my time. I want to know that I'm serious about it. I want to buy the property, but I've got my price. Now, why didn't I say 60,000? You guys, everyone said 60,000. Why did I say 61,500? I did my homework. And the psyche there is that seller's asking themselves, is that all they can offer? And if I say no, and I don't get a counter offer, I don't get another offer, I just lost the buyer. And I got to rethink my price. I just put 80,000 up there as a list price and they've calculated it to 61,500. The other question I have to ask myself, maybe that's all that they've been approved for a mortgage. Maybe they've got pre-approved for $61,500 and they're offering all they can take. I got to rethink a little bit about my $77,000 offer. I got to really give this some consideration, right? That's the mental battle. That's the mental ping pong going back and forth. And that's so I always do that. And I teach the people in our study group, I really stress that. I won't throw out 60,000. 60,000 sounds like next time you might go up to 70,000, right? Those are big increments. That's just, 60,000. Well, I'm going to stick at 80. Maybe they'll come up to, and I've seen it. They don't counter offer. All of a sudden they're going up to 70 and then they're going up to 70, 85. So do the math, do your numbers. And then I don't get ridiculous with it. I've had some people do it and they've taken that advice to an extreme and they'll do $61,162. Okay. To me, that's a little, I don't want them to think I'm too crazy or weird. Right. But I would stay away from an even dollar amount. I usually do it in increments of 10. So maybe like 500 or, maybe even in increments of 10, I could do, that would be the extreme. But do the math and then get close to it. But I do. And I think I like the way everybody was thinking. You didn't tell me 30,000. It had to be realistic enough to at least get a counter offer. Let's start the dialogue going. Let them know I'm interested, but I've done my math. And I probably can't do much more than that. And they're thinking, wow, if this investor did the math and they can't go more than that, man, there's a chance, who knows, I turn this guy down, the next guy might not even go that high, right? Okay, so this is what I do. This is how I come up with the price on all of those deals. Now, like I say, we got this great software program, But think about this. I walked you through it and it only took me a couple minutes. Imagine me just plugging in the numbers. You know, I could plug in these numbers in a couple minutes, evaluate hundreds of properties to make offers maybe on, 20 to get maybe one accepted, right? Or two accepted. Any questions about this? Now, this is my calculations. You need to plug in your own numbers, but this is the basics. The basics is always that. And like I say, when someone sends me this, I always have them put the asking price because I want to know how reasonable. Am I spending a lot of time in order to make this deal work? So let's say we did the spreadsheet and, it would work at 20,000. I'm probably not going to pursue this deal at all. I'm going to say next. I'm not even wasting my time maybe making an offer. Unless I know there's some really situation where they're desperate, that they have to sell. Randy, I know they want 80,000, but listen, I know their situation. They have to sell and they have to sell fast. And the house is not maybe going to be able to get a loan on it. So it's only cash offers. Okay.